and he criticized Donald Trump for his recent interview with Larry King here on RT. This is some of what was said in that interview. Let's take a listen.
What surprised you the most about running for office?
The media has been unbelievably dishonest. I mean, they'll take a statement that you make, which is perfect, and they'll cut it up and chop it up and shorten it or lengthen it or do something with it, and all of a sudden it doesn't look as good as it did when you actually said it.
Now, from there, Barack Obama went on to criticize Trump for what he perceived as a criticism of the U.S. military, as well as criticizing Trump for a perceived admiration of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Then Barack Obama surprised many people and went from there to compare Russian President Vladimir Putin to former Iraqi strongman Saddam Hussein. Let's take a listen.
And when the interviewer asked him, well, why do you support this guy? He's a strong guy. Look, he's got an 82% poll rating. Well, yes, so Saddam Hussein had a 90% poll rating.
Now, later in his remarks, Barack Obama pointed out that this election has more, quote, crazy stuff than usual. And people are speculating that it seems like this kind of unexpected comparison of two very different world leaders may be another example of some of the crazy stuff he was referring to.
Well, let's dig into this topic a little further now with Daniel Wagner, who's managing director of the firm Risk Cooperative. You're very welcome to the program, Daniel. So it's not only U.S. media that's fired up over Trump's appearance on this channel. Barack Obama, as you may have heard there, used it as a battering ram, really, when campaigning for Clinton. What's your take?
Well, it didn't have to be a battering ram. This was a fairly straightforward proposition. I saw the interview. I didn't think there was anything terribly controversial about it. I really don't understand why there has to be some sort of connotation that anything Russian is automatically bad. But unfortunately, there are many people in America who would equate anything Russia with being bad, just like they would equate anything with China to be bad. They don't understand the world. They don't understand that there are other media platforms out there, that RT is one of the largest in the world, and that it reaches a very broad audience. So if I was Mr. Trump, I certainly would want to appear on RT, and if I was Hillary Clinton, I would also want to.
It's not the first time that the name of Vladimir Putin has been brought up in the U.S. presidential campaign, and now seemingly it's back very much in vogue. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's hard to say, except that there are a lot of people who's never gotten out of a Cold War mentality and continue to believe that, you know, Mr. Putin is the bogeyman and that everything he does again is bad and anything that is done by other people is good. It's not a black and white world that we're living in. I really refuse to understand why people tend to typecast individuals and countries in that way. It really just doesn't make any sense to me.
Do you find it appropriate for President Obama to make such remarks about Vladimir Putin? Is it that it's the end of his term fast approaching and allows him to choose his words perhaps more loosely than he would have, or is it something else?
It's election season. We know what that means in many places around the world. And when you have so many accusations and loose words flying through this unprecedented election campaign, it's really not surprising that Mr. Putin and any number of other individuals, countries, topics would be thrown around very loosely. It's a dangerous thing to do. It doesn't make any sense. It certainly doesn't help set a useful stage for later on after the election is over and the new president is installed. What do you do then? Do you take back everything that was said that might have been inflammatory or caused some sort of a problem? If you ask me, it just doesn't make any sense. I really don't know why the election has to be cast in such a wider framework.
Let me just throw something else into the mix here. A well-known U.S. neurologist, Bennett Omalu, has claimed that Hillary Clinton may have been poisoned by Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, and even suggested that Clinton should take a toxicology test. It's not a plot of a 70s spy movie, is it?
It certainly sounds like one. I mean, I find myself wondering just how ridiculous can this campaign get? How is it that any person can almost say anything, the media immediately jumps on it, and before you know it, it's front page news? Does that make any sense to you? It doesn't make any sense to me.
The thoughts of Daniel Wagner, Managing Director of Risk Cooperative. We thank you for your thoughts.